Guten Tag, Party-Leute. Heute werden wir dieses Hängeschloss untersuchen. Today we're going to be taking a look at this padlock, and this is an offering from August Bremeke und Söhne, better known as Abus, and this is the Titalium 80Ti/50. A few videos ago, we looked at the Titalium 64Ti/50, which is the little brother to this padlock. So larger in size, larger in dimension, still a 50mm body, but stepping up the overall security, Abus bills this as the higher security offering in the Titalium line. But that being said, they do not bill it as a high security lock per se. So they say that this is good for securing valuables and goods of greater value or at a high risk of theft, which is vague enough to stay true under most circumstances. And they also recommend its use for securing doors, gates, cupboards, toolboxes, cellar windows, sheds, and switchboards, etc. So, a little refresher on what the purpose of the Titalium series actually is. These are locks that are designed to provide a similar level of physical durability and strength to brass-bodied padlocks, but at a reduced weight thanks to the aluminum alloy body. They also feature a hardened steel shackle with a rust-resistant coating that Abus refers to as nanoprotect, and a non-removable core. And you can see in this case we have a highly paracentric keyway here that is going to restrict our access to those pins with our tools in an attempt to manipulate this lock open, which is what we're going to do here shortly. We've also stepped up the overall security of the core with a 6-pin core that is loaded with those mushroom pins that Abus is well known for. And you can see, like the 64 Ti, we still have dual spring-loaded locking pawls here. However, the overall tolerances of the lock make it infeasible to get shims into this lock body between the shackle and the body to bypass those locking pawls. So without further ado, let's see what it takes to pick this guy open. And to do so, I'm going to be using a Sparrow's top of the keyway tensioner. Just going to place this in this little tail at the top of the lock. And I'm also going to be using my Sparrow's Tron pick in 25 thousandths. I've noticed that the Abus, in general, but particularly the Titalium series, likes a very light amount of tension, which is a little bit difficult for me because I definitely err towards the heavier side of tension usually. Pin 1 is binding. Nice click out of pin 1 and going into a false set. Click out of pin 2 and pin 3. Pin 3, we have counter rotation. So I'll try to get that set without dropping our previous 2 pins. Okay, pin 3 is set. Didn't drop the other pins, and we are now in a very deep false set. Pin 4, counter rotation on pin 4. Same thing, try to set that without dropping any of our previous pins. And I believe we got pin 4 set, but I think I did in fact drop a couple pins. So I'll go back to the front. Pin 1 did drop. Pin 1 is now set. Pin 2, I believe that also dropped. So now pin 2 is set. Pin 1 is set. Pin 3 also dropped. Very light touch on pin 3, and we got this open, which immediately calls attention to the fact that we never really touched pin 5 and pin 6 on this lock. So even in the situation where we only were working with 4 of the pins, it put up a little bit of a fight, a little bit of a challenge there. Tight tolerances causing drop pins when we set. But if we look at the key for this particular lock, we can see that pins 5 and 6 are actually the lowest cut possible. They're both cut to that. So effectively, you don't have to touch these for picking this particular lock at all. I've had previous 80 Ti's that ended up getting pushed into service in various places where the bidding was definitely more challenging than this, and those were much harder to open. So this one's a little bit weak on the bidding. If these zero cuts were anywhere towards the middle or the front of the keyway, then that would actually be quite nice, because then you would be at risk of oversetting these while working on higher cuts in the back. But unfortunately, they're just very poorly placed in this case. Probably should order another 80 Ti and follow up with a video with one that hopefully has a little bit more challenging bidding. But as you saw, even only working with 4 of the 6 pins, still not the easiest thing in the world. So I think for their intended use case and their relatively low price point, the Titalium series is a solid option for low to medium security applications. I mean, definitely weigh it against what you're trying to prevent and how likely it is that you could be the victim of theft or breaking and entering or whatever the case may be. But that being said, still pretty solid lock. So much appreciate everybody watching this. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. And until next time, I will talk to you later. Bis später.